Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel again.
Ew.
Okay,
You're cringe.
no, okay, whatever. Anyways, don't listen to my sister's hate right now. So, what we're gonna do is look at example 1. And so, example 1 tells us Miss Naguib loves to travel. The following table, which is actually very true, but the following table represents how many countries Miss Naguib traveled every year. So the question is the number of countries visited proportional to the number of years? This should be plural here. So if so, find the remaining values. Okay, so here's what we're going to do first. Here's our table, and what you need to have out right now is your notebook and something to write with, because you'll be writing this down as well. All right, so the whole point the first question is we need to figure out if the table is proportional, which means that is this table of ratios or does this table of ratios consist of equivalent ratios, right? That's the whole point of a proportional relationship. So the first thing I want you guys to do is you're going to write out example 1. And the first thing is we're going to draw our own table. So we're just going to do a T-chart. And I'm going to write year. And I'm going to write countries visited. Now the first thing is usually they won't tell you, or sometimes they won't tell you what is your X and your Y value, but it's important to remember that your X values is always on the left hand side and your Y values is always on the right hand side. And if you think about this, this is actually really, this is better. Sorry, it was a little blurry. But this is actually the same as an ordered pair, right? It's the same format. X is on the right hand side. No, sorry. X is on the left hand side. Okay. X is on the left hand side. Y is on the right hand side. So that's an easy way for you to remember that X is to the left and Y is to the right. So now I'm going to write our values. So here it says, so this means in 3 years, Miss Naguib visited 9 countries. In 4 years, Miss Naguib visited 12 countries. In 5 years, Miss Naguib visited 15 countries. And then we just have 6 and 7. So our first goal is to figure out, well, okay, is my table proportional? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write, like yesterday, ratio 1, ratio 2, and ratio 3. I'm going to label these because these are the ratios that we have to determine if it's proportional. So the first thing is we need to remember that our ratio is always y to x. So if I want to figure this out, we're going to do y over x, and that equals 9 to 3. I could zoom in a little bit here. The next one, sorry, I just have to move this to make it more clear, is going to be, we have y to x, which equals 12 over 4. And the last one we have, again, the reason why I'm just having you guys rewrite y to x is literally so you guys just get into the habit of remembering that it's y over x. And that's going to equal 15 over 5. So here's what we're going to do next. Okay, now we're going to scale down. And when we scale down, that means that it's getting smaller. So scaling down means we're dividing. So we're going to divide. 9 divided by 3 equals 3 over 1. So I'm simplifying each ratio using division. 12 divided by 4, that equals 3 over 1. 15 divided by 5, this equals 3 over 1. So what does this mean? Remember that y represents countries visited and x represents the year. So really what this means is that Miss Naguib visits 3 countries, since y is countries, every 1 year. So that's really what it means. So yes, this is proportional because all of my values are equivalent to 3. Okay, cool. So here's what I noticed. The first thing that I noticed is, and I'm going to write this down, my unit rate is, like we said, 3 countries for every 1 year. That is my unit rate. So what I noticed is that, all of my ratios will simplify always to my unit rate, which is also known as the constant of proportionality. The constant of proportionality and the unit rate are the same thing. Literally, it's just like another term for the unit rate. So what we notice is, okay, all of my ratios, when it's proportional, will simplify to the constant of proportionality or my unit rate. Now, where else do I see this unit rate? So what I notice is this. Here I have 3 over 1. Correct? All of my ratios equal 3 over 1. Now, what I can tell is if I look at x and I look at y, what I also notice is that there's a constant here. Every time in a proportional table, specifically this one, I am multiplying my x values by my constant or my unit rate to give me my y values. So you guys did this last year. This would be 3 times 3 gives me 9. 4 times 3 gives me 12. 5 times 3 gives me 15. And so what's interesting is you'll notice that all of your ratios simplify to your constant of proportionality. And the constant proportionality is always multiplied by your x value to give you your y values. So this honestly is an easier way to figure out if a table is proportional, and that's why it's called the constant proportionality, because there is a number being multiplied every single time with my x values to give me my y values. We're constantly multiplying by 3. So what's easy is the last step here. Question number 2 says we have to find the remaining values, and in 8 years, how many countries would Miss Naguib have visited? So what we're going to do is, if this is a proportional table, that means the constant is always being multiplied with my x values. So in 6 years, we're just going to multiply by 3. Miss Naguib would have visited 18 countries. And in 7 years, Miss Naguib would have visited 21 countries. And the last thing says, okay, well, in 8 years, how many countries would Miss Naguib have visited? So, if I want to figure out how many countries she visited in 8 years, years is my x value, so I'm going to add an 8. Because we're talking about 8 years, which is why your units is really important. And so what I'm going to just do is, okay, in 8 years, since this is a proportional table, I'm going to also multiply by 3, and I'm going to get 24. And so my last answer to this question would be, in 8 years, Miss Naguib would visit 24 countries. And we found that by finding the unit rate or the constant proportionality through figuring out if this table was proportional. So, if you have any questions about this, feel free to type it in the chat. Hope this made sense for you.